Welcome to Gut Punch, the podcast that explores life-changing moments. Hosted by 𝗘𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗄𝗃, a seasoned educator with personal insights into resilience. 𝗘𝗃 shares how life can change in an instant, shaping our path forward. Each episode features inspiring guests who face their own gut punch moments. Guests share their journeys through loss, upheaval, and triumph. What to expect: honest conversations, lessons in resilience, inspiration for growth. Join 𝗘𝗃 as she highlights courage and perseverance in every story. Gut Punch is a reminder that there is always a path forward. Be part of the conversation. Register now to join 𝗘𝗃 for today's journey.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Gut Punch. My name is 𝗘𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗄𝗃, and I'm your host for the show. Today, we are joined by Kim Barrett, who is the survivor of so many gut punches, one kind of has lost count. So we're just going to get right into the conversation. So Kim, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get into what your gut punch was or has been, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
So I am a mom and a grandmother. I currently live in New Jersey. I am director of legal operations at a global law firm. But before all of that, I also served in the Marine Corps. I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school, did not go to college right away. I did that later on. Had my first son at 20 years old, raised him as a single mom. In the meantime, when he was 10, I had a second child and also raised two of them as a single mom, and have been, well, when my oldest son was a year old, my reserve unit was activated for Desert Storm. So that was gut punch number one. Life before that gut punch was normal, just working, going to school, just trying to make a better life for myself and my child. And then we got presidential orders to activate the reserve unit. And in 2 days, we were heading out to California for desert war training.
So let's just go back on something. I know I've had friends or acquaintances that have been in the reserves, and you never think you're going to get called up.
No.
And then you do. So
Yeah.
what was like, what was that feeling like for you?
It was unbelievable. I read the orders more than once, and it actually said presidential call up or something like that. But it was an order from the President of the United States, who ordered our reserve unit, which was the reserve unit in New Jersey that I was a part of is just one piece of a larger reserve unit from all over the country. We all came together in California and formed the entire unit. It's Motor Transport Battalion unit, and we went to Camp Pendleton, California, and did some desert war training. I, being a mom, was given the opportunity to stay back in the U.S. with a smaller detail to support the unit from the United States. My reserve unit was sent over to Saudi Arabia in January before the first strikes were hit. And on February 3rd, they lined my small unit. I think there were 12 of us. They lined us up and started handing out medical records and service records. And that's when I knew something was changing. And they told us that night that we had to pack up and get ready for a flight to Saudi Arabia.
So even though you were a mom at that time, well, you're
Yes.
always a mom, you had to go.
Yes. Yes. So my son was with my mom. He was 13 months old when I first left. That was in December of 1990. In February 1991, we got our orders to fly over to Saudi Arabia. I arrived on the ground in Saudi Arabia on Valentine's Day.
Wow.
Yep. And I was there until mid-April. So by the time I came back home, my son was now 18 months old. There was no social media. There was no FaceTime. There was none of that 35 years ago. So I came back home and he didn't know who I was.
So you walk in the door after being gone all this time.
Yeah.
And the little guy that you gave birth to 18 months prior doesn't know who you are. What was that like? What was that feeling? Do you remember?
That yeah, I was shocked. I was sad. I knew I had to reestablish the bond, and that took a while.
How
You know,
did you do that?
just spending time with them
Okay.
and making him feel comfortable. It took both me and my mom to spend time with him and have him just, do things that he was used to doing with her to start doing them with me. So I had to start feeding him and changing him and playing with him and just spending time with him until he got used to, it was like a stranger walking into his life. So until he got used to that and began to, reestablish that bond. Luckily now he doesn't remember that.
Thank
because he
God.
was so young.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took a while.
I mean, I can only imagine what that would be like. But here you are, excited to come home. You've been away for a
Yeah,
couple of months to see your little guy. And then you get there and he doesn't come up and give you a running, toddling over and
right,
giving you a big hug. He just
right.
probably looks at you and like with no idea who you are. Kim, do you remember what your emotions were when you realized he didn't know who you were?
I kind of felt like, what did I do? Why did I leave? Why didn't I just not go? Why didn't I just stay and fight the orders? But at the same time, I felt like I had a duty to do it and that it would be more beneficial for both of us in the long run,
Yes.
not even knowing if that was true. So it was an inner struggle.
And how long did it take for you and your son to rebuild that bond and become mother and son again?
I want to say at least a few months. I mean, he's turning 36 this year, so that was a long time ago. But I wanna say at least a few months because, again, when babies are that young, they don't remember those instances, they don't remember the events or the
Mhm.
feelings. So, it was and I came home not to a job, so I didn't have to go out to work right away, so I had a lot of time to really spend day in and day out with him. So, it didn't take as long as it could have had I had to go out to a job every day and be away from him for many hours.
Looking back, how do you think that experience changed you as a woman? And part of what I'm curious about too is I know that the military is male dominated, and I can imagine at that moment that it was even more challenging for women than it is now. What was it like for you to be in, Saudi Arabia, probably with a group of primarily your squad was probably primarily men, as a mother with a little guy at home? Take me through that.
So, I would say 60 plus big brothers when I was in the military. When I had to go to the bathroom, my captain would say, "Sure, you can go, but you, and you walk with her." I had no privacy, which was good and a little bit jolting because I grew up in a house full of women. I have 5 older sisters. So I wasn't used to all of that.
Yeah.
I do have one brother, but he's 4.5 years younger than me. So I wasn't used to that kind of protection. And I mean, obviously my dad was in the house, but that's one man versus four. So in a house full of women, it was tough. I wasn't the only parent that was there. So we were at least able to commiserate, if that's the right word,
Right.
with each other, about our families. And again, all you had was an audio phone. Like AT&T set up phone lines in the areas where we had some time to use the phones once in a while, but there were no cell phones. There
Was
was
it
none
it
of
was
that.
those big suitcase phones, right? Like,
Yeah, right.
they came in the big I remember those, yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's fast forward the tape. So, as you said, your son's now 36 years old. You're a grandmother, which I cannot believe. How do you think that initial gut punch impacted you long term? And what are some subsequent challenges that you've experienced since that initial gut punch?
So how did it impact me long term? I think it just made me realize that as long as nobody is dying, you can get through a challenge. Like not to take things so seriously,
Yeah.
which are good things to learn, but it just took a really hard lesson to learn them.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and given what I've gone through, I said to me, what I've realized are the things that matter, or the people that matter in the world, are the people that give birth to you and
Yeah,
those that you give birth to.
right, right.
And I think for anyone who's gone through something serious like you and I have, it really does come down to that. And to your point, I think it's so easy to get caught up in all the daily craziness that life hands us. But when, your whole being is put up for question, like you come home, you're like excited you're a mom, whatever. He doesn't recognize you. And then all the other stuff you've gone through. It really comes down to like taking a deep breath and realizing the people that you have to dedicate your energy to. Back then, like you had to focus on him.
Yeah, I had to. I had to be intentional.
Yes,
And that's one of the other lessons I learned. Like you have to show up with intent.
that's right.
Like we get one shot at life and there's no time to not do what you need to do to make it work in your best interest. You just have to be intentional.
Yes. And as I always tell people, you can only move forward. You cannot move
Yeah,
back. You can't rewind that tape. We,
right.
we are a society of, oh, I wish I had done that, or, oh, I should have done that. But you make a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So that happened 35 years ago. Talk to us about some of the other crazy experiences you've had since then.
So since then, I've had a bunch of surgeries, some due to injuries in the military. I'm contemplating, I have filed claims with the VA because I have permanent issues that I'm living with from my military service. And then last fall, I started getting these debilitating headaches to the point where I had to hold onto the wall just to walk to the bathroom. I couldn't see, it hurt to blink. It was just, and it wasn't like just a headache here, it was like inside my head. Like I
Wow.
couldn't reach it. So I finally went to the doctor at the VA hospital and she gave me some pain meds, but she said, let's do a CT scan just to make sure that there's nothing else going on. And we did that. And this is where the second gut punch comes in. The scan revealed that I had been having many strokes.
Wow.
And we don't know how many. We don't know when they started. We don't know how often they happen. I don't know if they're still happening because I still get headaches.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in her office and she's going over the report with me. And I don't think I heard anything else she said after that.
Yeah.
So I took a copy of that report home and just being the person I am, I looked at every medical term in that report and Googled and looked up everything and went on a bunch of different, very reputable websites that talk about medical issues and did a ton of research until I started to go around in circles. That's when I knew I had all the information I could get. So yeah, I've been having these strokes, which is what's contributing to the headaches. I then sent the report to my cardiologist because I have other issues with my heart. And the nurse practitioner at the cardiologist's office asked me if I had seen a neurologist, and I had not, but I told her that I would. So I did that. And the neurologist ordered more testing. And come to find out, I was then diagnosed with what's called microvascular disease. The blood vessels in my brain are more narrow than they should be, either because of plaque buildup or hardening of the vessels,
Okay.
which could be contributed to high blood pressure, which stems from the heart issues. So it's all connected.
Yes.
And then one of the other tests showed that I have a very tiny aneurysm. So the doctors are watching that because, as you may know, they can burst and be life-threatening.
Yes. Yes.
So there's a lot going on, and I'm still under doctor's care, still trying to figure things out. I recently had a loop recorder inserted to monitor heart rhythm. So that's inserted right under the skin. So that can stay there for up to 4 years. So I go see the cardiologist every 3 months to see what the reports on that look like and try to regulate my heart rhythm. I'm on a bunch of different medications. The neurologist did suggest that I switch to a Mediterranean diet or more vegetable-based diet. But let me back up a second. Once I got the diagnosis
Right.
and I got all the information and I did all the research that I could do, I sat with it for a few days.
Well, and here's my question. That's a lot, right? Like that's a lot for anybody. You sat with it for a couple of days, and how did you decide to move forward? I mean, for some people, when you're handed a report like that, it's beyond devastating. And I'm sure
Yeah.
you were overwhelmed by it, but like, how did you find the energy and the patience to move forward with it?
I want to see my grandson grow up. He's turning 2 this summer. I want to see my son continue to be the wonderful father that he's been for this last year and a half. I don't want to miss any of that.
Right.
I want to live as long as I can. So that's my motivation, to be around to watch my kids become adults and continue to be adults and have their own lives and, enjoy all of that with them.
Yeah.
So that's my motivation. I sat with the information for a few days, trying to figure out, how do I tell people in a way that they can understand how serious this is I didn't want a pity party.
No one ever does. Exactly.
Right. So I wanted to just let everyone know, like, here's what's going on. Here's what I'm doing about it. I don't need someone every day to say, are you in pain? What are you doing? What are you eating? That would stress me out more than not. And I need to minimize my stress. So I explained all of that to my cousins that I'm close to my sisters, to my kids. My son and daughter-in-law actually sent me a cookbook full of Mediterranean recipes. So, good support system.
Yeah, you've got no excuse now. You have your cookbooks.
Exactly.
Well, but I think, let me just interject here. I think that so much of this is you made a choice,
Yeah.
right? You made the choice that you were going to move forward.
Yep.
A lot of people get stuck and they may have all the motivation that you have and then some, but they still decide to stay stuck, to be angry, right? Why me? And I know, I relate to something that you said. You don't want people always asking you how you're doing. Like, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah.
And you're going to be fine because you're going to make yourself fine. And I know, I did this a couple of months ago. Every time I saw people that knew what I had been through, like, oh my God, how are you feeling? Are you feeling good? And my response is now, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm healthy,
Yeah.
clean bill of health from the doctor. Ask me how I'm doing. Don't ask me
Right.
how I'm feeling.
Right.
And I'm not going to say that everyone liked my response, but that was what I needed for me.
Yep.
And, one of the many things that I've realized is when you get through a gut punch once, twice, three times, whatever, as we evolve as people, we have to start doing what's best for us. And we have to start managing our world in a way that meets our needs. Because if we don't do that for us, no one else is going to.
No one else is going to.
No.
Absolutely. And you can't feel guilty about it.
No.
Can't. And you can't
No.
allow someone else to feel guilty about it. I have set boundaries, and I
Yep.
don't allow anyone to make me feel guilty about the boundaries I set.
Yes.
I'm sorry if you don't like the boundaries, but they're my boundaries and I'm sticking to them.
That's right.
And that goes back to being intentional.
That's right. That's right. Someone, one of the things that people are like, what are the lessons you learned from your experience? And mine is three. Like there's more, but there's three big ones. One is life is precious, right? So appreciate it. Two is to celebrate the little things because the big things are few and far between. And the third, which I think for me is the most important, is surround yourself with people that love and support you. Over time, work out those that are an energy drain. And I did that myself with one person specifically. We'd been friends for a really long time. And the energy this person was just drawing from me was epic. There's that TED talk on givers and takers. And this person was a taker and stressing me out. And there was no reason for that.
Right.
So as hard as it was, I ended the friendship. And I have to be honest, I feel so much happier now that I did because I don't have that additional stress in my life. And so I think it's amazing that you set boundaries in the way that you did. And it's like you're running your world the way that you need to.
Yeah. And either respect it or not.
That's right. And it's right. If you want to be part of your story, great. And if not,
that's okay too.
That's right.
That's okay too. I mean, I feel like I've been challenged with my health because I had to stop drinking alcohol, which I only did socially anyway.
Yeah.
But I had to stop not because the doctor said I couldn't, but the doctor said I shouldn't. And that's a big difference.
It's a huge difference.
And
Yes.
I don't know what the interactions with my medications will mean down the line. So I just stopped drinking. And, I've had people say to me, oh, you can just have one. I could, but I won't. And I need you to respect that.
Yes. Yes. And I think, these days, well, the good thing is, soberism is a thing. Like I see that with a lot of my friends, but again, you've got to do what's best for you.
Yeah.
And it is just so incredibly important. I learned years ago that I love to exercise. I guess I'm a bit addicted to it actually. And I learned that if I don't take that hour or 45 minutes a day for myself, whatever I can carve out, I lose it.
Yep.
So I'll get up as early as I need to get it in, just so I get it in because I do it for me. And, so much of being a mom, being a wife, being a professional, we always find ourselves doing things for other people.
Yeah.
And it is so incredibly easy to forget about ourselves in this whole equation until you have a moment like you've had, like I did, where you realize the only way you're going to get better is if you let yourself focus on yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And you really do have to put yourself first. You have to be selfish to a degree because you have to make yourself happy.
And it's not self, it's your point. It's not being selfish. It's like necessary, right? It needs to
Necessary.
happen.
It's self-care.
Absolutely. So for your, like, from the stuff that you've been through, whether it was your recent healthcare challenges or being in the military, being with a squad of in the Middle East, like as a new mom, coming home to a little boy that you, how have you continued to smile and laugh and pick up every day and go on? Because as I said earlier, a lot of people just get stuck. Life overwhelms them and they shut down. How have you navigated it all?
Some days are better than others.
Yeah.
Like I still do get headaches. They're not as often as they were before because
Right.
now they're being managed, but I just take one day at a time, and setting those boundaries played a big part in relieving a lot of unnecessary stress. And I've also distanced myself from people who I believe were causing a lot of the stress. And I do feel better
Yeah.
physically,
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally, psychologically. I do feel better. I'm intentional about who I spend my time with, how I spend my time, where I spend my time. And just to build on that,
Yep.
I'm also intentional about who I allow to come into my own space,
Yes.
including my physical house. I'm very protective of who's allowed inside my house. And that's by design
Yep.
because I don't want the negative energy living in my house. This is where I sleep. This is where all my stuff is. This is where I lay my head. This is where I get to be me completely undressed.
Yes.
Put that in quotes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I don't need someone coming in here and disturbing my peace. I have found peace in my life at this point, and I don't want that disturbed. And if I allow you into my life, it means that I have made a decision intentionally to open the door to let you walk in.
Well, I would think, correct me if I'm wrong, in times of anguish or times of panic or times of stress, whatever you want to call it, that knowing that you have a place where you can just go and be
Yeah.
okay is
Yeah.
really, really important.
Yes.
And having people
Yeah.
who you are intentionally friends with, folks that curating that friendship, who that you can just talk to and be visceral with, that also goes a really, really long way.
Yeah. And I have friends that I've known, some for 10 years, some for 20 years. I have my closest circle of friends. We've known each other for over 40 years. So these are people who have seen all stages of my life, and I've seen all stages of their lives. So they know what the boundaries are. They know they can see it before I say anything. And these are the first people that I talk to about these gut punches, and they get it.
Yes. Yes. And I would imagine also, they help you navigate your course through it because they've seen what you've already conquered
Yeah.
and help you realize that this too shall all pass in some way, shape, or form, and that
Right.
you have the resilience to get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that resilience sometimes looks like I need to step back. I don't want to talk to anybody today.
Yes.
I just want some me time, some alone time to watch some mindless TV, sit on the couch in fuzzy slippers and sweats and a
I
bag of
like
popcorn.
Bridgerton does that for me. That's what I watch.
Yeah. But sometimes that's what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think, again, like it goes back to taking care of yourself. It's making time for yourself. It's also okay to tell people that, like, I don't want to be with you today, or I don't want to talk to you today.
Yeah.
And it may be hard to be on the receiving end of that message, but at some point the person you're saying that to is going to say that to you probably.
Yeah.
And I think that's a super important thing because, I think these days everyone's so afraid of getting canceled and everyone's afraid of offending somebody else and so forth and so
Right.
on. But the reality is, as we were saying before, you need to stick up for yourself.
Yeah.
And the true friends, the ones that you've had forever, the ones that you intentionally pick and stay with, they get the fact that, as you said, there are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days.
Right. They
Um,
understand.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have my good days and my bad days. And I don't wake up and say, oh, this is a good day, or oh, this is a bad day. I just kind of get through the day.
Yeah.
And what I've learned, I don't know if you've had this experience, we're a society of like, oh, I'm good, I'm fine,
Mhm.
whatever. And so people ask me, hey, what's going on, or how you doing? When I say to people, I'm okay, that causes them to pause and they'll say, oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm okay, and and the brave ones will say, well, what's going on?
Right.
And then there are the other people that just kind of move on.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I have gotten a lot after going through what I went through. I've gotten a lot more open about, you know what, today isn't a good day, or, you know what,
Right.
today's an extraordinary day, so forth and so on. Because what I've found is a lot of people don't want to listen, right?
They don't.
But when you find ones that do, it's very helpful to be able to talk to them about it.
Is I've also learned that no is a complete sentence.
All right. I have to ask you, expand on that. Go further with that one.
It's a complete sentence. You do not owe anyone an explanation. And that goes back to the boundaries and intentionality. I don't want to go to that event.
No.
End of discussion.
Yep.
No,
No. Yeah.
that's it.
It's also a great word for motivating people. Okay. All right. So, no,
No.
I don't have any more questions. Kim, it's always like an absolute positive pleasure to laugh and learn from you. I
Thank you.
love your stories. I love your wisdom, respect and admire your ability to roll with the punches. The analogy that I've been using recently is I feel like, sometimes I'm standing at the edge of the ocean and the waves are coming up, and some of those waves hit me at my ankles, some hit me at my knees, and sometimes they just kind of knock me over, depending upon
Yeah.
where I'm standing in the water, obviously. And that's how life is. It's a series of ups and downs and gut punches and recovery and all of that. But thank you for sharing yours with us. They're inspiring, motivating, and I think, when people are feeling like they can't get up and move on, they're going to think about some of the stuff that you said today and figure out a way to get up and move on. So thank you for that.
Sure. Thank you for having me. And I just think it's important for people to understand that everything is temporary. Even our lives are temporary.
That's right.
And no matter how hard something is, it will pass. You will get through it. How you get through it is your choice, but
Yes.
you will get through it.
That's great. On that, thanks everyone for listening, and look forward to having you join us on another episode of Gut Punch. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
That's it for today's episode of Gut Punch. I hope you found inspiration, because no matter how hard life hits, there's always a way forward. Make sure to follow or subscribe to Gut Punch on your favorite podcast platform. If you know someone who could use a little inspiration, share this episode with them. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay strong. See you in the next episode.